The knock came at exactly 12:03 a.m. Sharp, deliberate, unforgiving. It sliced through the silence of Daniel Harper's small apartment like a verdict. His 5-year-old daughter stirred on the couch beside him, her tiny hand still clutching his shirt. Daniel wasn't expecting anyone. Not at that hour, not ever. When he opened the door and saw his boss standing there in the dim hallway light, rain clinging to her coat and something unreadable burning in her eyes, he knew his life was about to split into before and after. Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories that remind us we're all human beneath our titles and mistakes, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. Daniel had always believed that hard work was enough. It had to be. After his wife passed away 3 years earlier from a sudden aneurysm, enough was all he had left. Enough strength to get out of bed, enough patience to braid his daughter Lily's hair every morning even though his fingers were clumsy, enough courage to attend school recitals alone, clapping louder than any two parents combined, enough resilience to keep his job as a senior analyst at a rising tech firm, even when sleep was a luxury he couldn't afford. His boss, Victoria Langford, was known for precision. She was the kind of CEO who noticed everything: the crooked picture frame in the lobby, the typo in a presentation slide, the hesitation in someone's voice during a meeting. She had built the company from nothing, and she guarded it like a fortress. Employees admired her discipline but feared her silence. Daniel respected her deeply, but he kept his distance. He had learned the hard way that mixing emotions with survival was dangerous. Over the past year, Victoria's behavior toward Daniel had shifted in subtle ways. She lingered during meetings when he spoke, asked about Lily's school projects, once even sent a children's book anonymously to his office with a sticky note that read, "For brave girls." Daniel knew what it meant. Everyone in the office did, but he pretended not to. He convinced himself it was gratitude for his performance, or pity, or nothing at all. He couldn't afford complications. Being a single father meant schedules tighter than budgets. Daniel's mornings began before sunrise. He packed lunches, checked homework, ironed small dresses with cartoon patterns, and then rushed Lily to school before racing to the office. He often arrived breathless but prepared, files organized, numbers memorized. At night, he worked remotely after Lily slept, spreadsheets glowing in the darkness like constellations of responsibility. Victoria admired his discipline, but she also misread it. She saw his distance as rejection, his professionalism as indifference. The signals she sent, extended conversations, invitations to corporate dinners with optional attendance, quiet compliments, were met with polite smiles and quick exits. Daniel wasn't playing hard to get. He was simply protecting the fragile balance of his world. The company began facing financial strain after a risky expansion into overseas markets. Investors grew restless. Departments tightened budgets. Victoria became sharper, her tone colder. Daniel worked even harder, analyzing projections late into the night, trying to stabilize what felt like a ship leaning too far toward the storm. Then came the presentation that changed everything. Daniel had prepared a comprehensive risk assessment for a major partnership deal. He had warned that the numbers didn't align, that projections were overly optimistic. But in the final board meeting, exhausted and distracted by a call from Lily's school nurse about a fever, he missed one critical error in the slide deck. A decimal point misplaced, a forecast inflated. The board approved the deal. 2 weeks later, the losses began surfacing. At 12:03 a.m., Victoria stood outside his apartment, not as a woman sending signals, but as a CEO holding consequences. Daniel stepped into the hallway so Lily wouldn't wake. The fluorescent light flickered above them, illuminating the exhaustion carved into both their faces. Victoria didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She explained the error, the board's anger, the investors demanding accountability. She said the words slowly, as if each one weighed a pound. "You're fired!" The rain outside intensified, drumming against the stairwell window. Daniel felt strangely calm. Maybe because fear had already lived in him for years. Fear of failing Lily, fear of losing stability, fear of not being enough. This was simply another confirmation. He nodded. He didn't beg, he didn't argue. Pride and exhaustion held him upright. Victoria watched him closely, perhaps waiting for emotion, for protest. Instead, she saw quiet acceptance. It unsettled her more than anger would have. When Daniel re-entered his apartment, Lily was sitting up, eyes wide and confused. He forced a smile and told her everything was fine, that sometimes adults just had big conversations late at night. He tucked her back in, but he didn't sleep. He sat at the kitchen table until sunrise, staring at the unpaid bills lined neatly in a drawer. The weeks that followed were brutal. Savings evaporated faster than hope. Daniel applied for jobs relentlessly, tailoring resumes, attending interviews with forced optimism. But the industry was small, and news of the failed deal traveled quickly. Companies were hesitant, some were blunt. Lily noticed the change before he said anything. Children sense storms long before thunder reaches adults. She began offering to skip field trips to save money, insisted she didn't need new shoes even when her toes pressed against the fabric. Daniel smiled through the guilt, assuring her everything was temporary. Meanwhile, Victoria faced her own unraveling. The partnership deal worsened. The board questioned her leadership. Investors threatened withdrawal. She had fired Daniel to demonstrate accountability, to protect the company's image. But she couldn't ignore the truth. The strategic framework of the deal had been hers. The pressure had been hers. The culture of urgency that led to oversight had been hers. Late at night, she found herself replaying the hallway scene. Daniel's silence haunted her. Not because it was defiant, but because it was dignified. 3 months after the firing, the company teetered on collapse. A major client prepared to withdraw, citing inconsistent analytics. The internal team struggled to correct projections. Victoria reviewed reports until her vision blurred, but something was missing. The meticulous clarity Daniel once brought. Swallowing pride is harder than issuing orders. One evening, she found herself driving toward Daniel's neighborhood. She told herself it was practical, not personal. The company needed expertise. She needed him. The knock this time came at 8:17 p.m. Daniel opened the door cautiously. Lily peeked from behind him, her hair messy from bath time. Victoria noticed how small the apartment was, how carefully organized, how warm despite its simplicity. For the first time, she saw the full picture of what he had been balancing. She explained the crisis. She admitted the board was reconsidering leadership. She acknowledged that firing him had been easier than confronting systemic issues. The words felt foreign in her mouth, but necessary. Daniel listened quietly. The hurt was still there, layered beneath exhaustion. He asked one question: would his rehiring be temporary damage control or genuine recognition of value? Victoria didn't hesitate this time. She offered him not just his position back, but a partnership role in restructuring operations, autonomy to rebuild the analytics division, and flexibility to prioritize his daughter. Trust rebuilds slowly, but sometimes necessity accelerates healing. Daniel returned to the company under scrutiny. Whispers followed him through hallways. Some admired his resilience, others questioned the decision. He focused only on the work. He assembled a small team, audited contracts, renegotiated projections, and rebuilt investor presentations from the ground up. Long nights returned, but this time with clearer boundaries. He left at 5 to pick up Lily, logging back in after she slept. Victoria changed too. She instituted realistic timelines, mandatory review processes, and open-door discussions about workload. She began acknowledging mistakes publicly, setting a tone that accountability didn't require scapegoats. Gradually, the numbers stabilized. The major client renewed their contract. Investors regained cautious confidence. The company didn't just survive, it evolved. One evening, months later, Daniel stood at Lily's school auditorium watching her perform in a small play about bravery. As she bowed awkwardly to applause, he felt something shift inside him. Not relief, not pride, but gratitude. Not for the hardship, but for surviving it with integrity intact. Victoria attended quietly from the back row. She hadn't told him she was coming. She watched Lily run into Daniel's arms afterward, saw the way his entire world narrowed to that small child. In that moment, she understood something she had overlooked for years. Leadership without empathy is fragile. Daniel never fully ignored her signals again, but he also never compromised his boundaries. Their relationship evolved slowly, grounded in mutual respect rather than unspoken tension. Whether it would ever become something more remained uncertain, and perhaps that was the beauty of it. Some connections don't need labels to be meaningful. The midnight knock that once symbolized loss became, in hindsight, a turning point. It stripped away illusions, forced accountability, and revealed strength neither of them knew they possessed. If this story has touched your heart, if Daniel's resilience or Victoria's growth reminded you of someone in your own life, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe for more stories that matter. And before we reach the final words, I have a special request. Comment the word second chance below if you believe people can grow beyond their worst mistakes. Because sometimes being fired isn't the end of your story. Sometimes it's the painful beginning of becoming who you were meant to be. And sometimes the knock at midnight isn't just a loss. It's an invitation to rebuild stronger, kinder, and braver than before.